Go ahead.
So you want me to pay you $30 million to play 30 games? Hell no.
Right.
No. 80 games is fine because I did it. Jerry West did it. Kareem did it. Magic did it. Bird did it. Bernard King, like all the great legends before us did it.
You play basketball 2.5 hours a day, 3 hours a day, right? That's your job. That's what you get paid to do as an NBA player. What are you doing the other 21 hours? I mean, to me, that's when you should be preparing for your next day of work.
A massive shockwave just ripped through the NBA league today. Shaquille O'Neal just dropped a truth bomb that exposed the fake hustle and weak work ethic poisoning today is modern basketball culture. When it settled, LeBron James and Kevin Durant were caught in the crossfire, desperately trying to laugh away a reality that just slapped them in the face. The craziest part of all this? The timing. While Shaq demands players actually show up, LeBron and KD are on podcasts mocking the icons who built the NBA, disrespecting the very legends who paved the way for their billion-dollar lifestyles. You really cannot make this up. It kicked off when Shaq was asked about load management, that trend where stars skip games to protect their bodies. His response was pure fire. He asked, "So you want me to pay you $30 million just to play 30 games?" Hell no. In that one moment, you could feel 40 years of frustration finally boiling over. He doubled down, praising legends like Jerry West, who played through injuries that would sideline today as stars for an entire season. He mentioned Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who dominated for years without fancy recovery tech or private chefs. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird went to war every night while making less than modern bench players. Artis Gilmore once told me back in Chicago that if you want a long career, you have to stop diving for every loose ball on the floor. I thought he was insane because that grit is exactly what basketball is about. Larry Bird would dive for a steal, scramble, and push the break. Then he would show up to practice on one leg. The man was injured his second season. He played on one leg the entire year and still hit 82 games. Think about that. He practiced every single morning and played every game on one good leg. He told Michael Jordan he couldn't just sit out. How could he lead the team while watching from the sideline? If the team is grinding, I have to be there. Once I twisted my ankle, and my teammate David Greenwood noticed. He told me to come sit down and rest that ankle because I was a young kid. I told him, "No way, man. I was trying to make a name for myself. I couldn't sit. I had to get out there and show everyone what I could do. I wanted to play. I wanted to win. More than anything, I just wanted to make an impact. Maybe it is not in the best interest of your health or the team to play 82 games. Have you considered that since setting the goal? That is the goal. We will see, but I plan on being available for every single game. If a star shows up, he might score 100. These were the Warriors who built the NBA empire. When they asked Shaq if the season was too long, his answer cut like a knife. No. If we had to do it, then they can do it. In other words, stop complaining about playing a game for generational wealth. The old guard had it rough. Bad medicine, commercial flights, and tiny paychecks that would not cover a modern car lease. Yet, they showed up every night. No excuses or pity parties. You play basketball for 3 hours a day. That is the job you are paid for. That is your duty as a professional. What are you doing with the other 21 hours of the day? You should be preparing for the next shift. Of course, the backlash from the new school came fast. Draymond Green defended the sit-out culture, acting like skipping games is some brilliant long-term strategy. Austin Rivers laughed it off, saying it was ridiculous that older guys played every game back then. He joked about their bad knees. Really? That is the excuse. Since when is being too rich to play considered self-care? That is the new mindset. Shaq was livid at this millionaire pity act and the body preservation excuses. Fans spend half their checks to watch, but stars act like making $50 million a year is a burden. This obsession with rest is driving me insane. You are literally playing a game for a living. I would get it if you worked in a coal mine, but you are just playing basketball. You do not need a day off. Even Nikola Jokic got caught slipping. Asked about mandatory games, he shrugged and said the league is forcing players to show up. We saw the injuries, but I guess that is just what the league wants now. I do not really know. They are forcing us to play. We see the risks, but the league is going to do what it wants. Basically, he is admitting he only wants to play when he actually feels like it. Crazy, isn't it? Shaq's putting it on blast. This whole new era of entitlement, stars cashing checks big enough to fund cities, then whining that there's too much basketball. Average NBA paydays hit $10 million lately, while max contracts are nearing $60 million. Yet fans arrive expecting their idols, only to see healthy superstars parked on the bench. Imagine buying front-row concert tickets just for the singer to quit because they're tired. But this story goes way deeper. Everything blows up when LeBron James drops a podcast with Kevin Durant and Steve Nash just as Shaq is venting. Their move? Throwing shade at the GOAT himself, Michael Jordan. Durant starts talking about the struggle to stay hungry after a decade of success at the top. Imagine having 4 MVPs and 4 rings, but wondering if you still want it. Some guys leave for baseball and then return. Others aim for 22 straight seasons. Just look at LeBron's face there. That smirk and that quiet laugh. They weren't even attempting to hide it. They compared Jordan's baseball break to LeBron's endless career grind, implying that longevity is actually better than dominance. A subtle jab during small talk. Then LeBron says it all. It is just basketball when the day ends. Just a game after everything those legends built. That is the big difference. Those old-school warriors played like the game was their entire life, but today's stars treat it like a hobby. The split is obvious. Shaq's message didn't just trigger a debate, it ignited a full-blown revolution. Just basketball. Think about the massive ego it takes to even say those words. This is a man who turned his sport into a billion-dollar empire, going from a kid in Akron to one of the most powerful humans on earth, all thanks to hoops. Yet now he brushes it off like it's a side project. Seriously? Michael Jordan would never utter those words. When MJ spoke about the game, you heard the fire. He famously gave 110% every single night because to him it wasn't a job. It was his whole identity. The game was his obsession, his sanctuary, and his absolute purpose in life. Every single dribble and shot was a battle for him. But you must play hard. Does that take a physical toll? No, because when I step out there, I play hard every time. You can't just turn it on and off. It is 110% always if you want a long career. Lasting 20 years is the ultimate goal. I believed in that goal. It is strictly about winning titles and being the absolute best. And yet, they say it's just basketball when it's all over, just a game. But LeBron wasn't finished. He took a direct shot at the legacy of Jordan. He argued the triangle offense is useless today because the game has advanced too much. Essentially, he's saying his era is smarter and better. His real point is that modern players deal with harder challenges and much more complex defensive systems. That isn't showing respect, that's rewriting history. Then the real truth finally came out. LeBron even questioned why we focus on championships, asking why they're the ultimate measure of success and the end-all be-all for everything. Hold on. This is the same athlete who literally built super teams just to hunt for rings. He teamed up with Wade and Bosch in Miami, recruited stars to Cleveland, then left for LA. Since he likely won't catch Jordan's 6 titles, he is suddenly trying to change the definition of greatness. It is simple. He is rewriting the score. When the stats don't favor you, you change the story. That's the play here. Turning the GOAT debate into a talk about longevity rather than pure dominance and winning. All right. A fan asks why the famous triangle offense isn't used much in today's NBA. Running that triangle system today would be a massive challenge, purely because of how the game flows and how modern defenses cover you. 10 to shoot. Jake drives right to the rim. No talking on defense. You play basketball 2.5 hours a day, right? That is the job. That's what you're paid to do as a professional NBA player. What do you do with the other 21 hours? Honestly, that's the time you should spend preparing for your next workday. Why is chasing rings so much more obsessed over in basketball than in any other sport? It is funny. I truly don't know why it's such a huge topic or why it's considered the ultimate measure of a player. Like you mentioned earlier, we discussed the current game and how load management has become such a controversial part of it. He snapped, "I have no idea what that thing even is." Where is it headed? That is problem number 1. Problem number 2 is, How do we get it back? I love the NBA, but I turn on a game and the superstars aren't even out there. It is all because of load management. It is destroying the sport. Larry Bird once shared a story that perfectly highlights the gap between generations. Artist Gilmore told him to stop diving for loose balls if he wanted to last. Bird just stared at him like he was insane. To Larry, that was the game. Fighting for every possession and hustling until your body finally breaks. Bird understood something LeBron and Durant clearly do not. Basketball is not about saving yourself for season 20. It is about leaving everything on the court every night. That is why Bird only lasted 13 seasons and Jordan played 13 full years. They burned out chasing greatness, never coasting toward their retirement. They played through agony for rings, not social media brands. Now, LeBron is already hinting at taking more nights off. Asked if 82 games is still realistic, he said, "That is the goal, but we will see." Translation: expect more rest. He is setting the stage early so nobody complains when he sits out. Michael Jordan viewed things very differently. He used to say, "You play basketball 3 hours a day. That is your job." What about the other 21 hours? That is the mental gap. Jordan understood a truth today's superstars refuse to accept. The NBA is a privilege, not a chore. You are paid millions to play a game fans would give anything to see. The bare minimum is just showing up. Michael lived by that. He played to impress the fan in the very last row, the guy who likely spent money he did not even have. He even cared about the people in the crowd booing him. Asked if it bothered him, he said, "Absolutely. I know he is yelling at me, so I want to silence him with my game." That is pure pride. That is heart. Even next-generation stars like Tracy McGrady understood that drive. He said there was no way he was resting when legends like Kobe, Iverson, or Paul Pierce came to town. McGrady knew that skipping those big matchups was a total insult to the game, the fans, and his own legacy. That competitive respect is dead today. And here is the part Durant and LeBron hope you forget that pathetic baseball comment. When KD smirked and said some people go play baseball, he was doing more than just throwing shade. He was mocking one of the most painful chapters in all of sports history. Michael Jordan did not quit because he was bored. His father was murdered on July 23, 1993. James Jordan pulled over to rest, and 2 teenagers shot him, stole his vehicle, and dumped his body in a swamp. The man who raised Michael and watched him conquer the world was taken away in an instant. So, what did Michael do? He left basketball to fulfill his father's dream of seeing his son play baseball. Just imagine that for a second. At the height of his power, after 3 straight titles, he walked away not for money or fame, but for love and grief. So when Durant smirks about baseball and LeBron joins in, realize they are not just telling a joke. They are disrespecting one of the rawest, most heartbreaking moments in professional sports history. Remember, Jordan did not quit after a loss or getting swept. He walked away while he was still on top. He had just completed a three-peat, a feat even Magic, Bird, and Isaiah Thomas never achieved. He left as a champion, still grieving his father and carrying that immense pain, while giving everything he had to the game his dad loved. That is exactly what separates Michael Jordan from the rest. He did not just play basketball. He lived it. He bled for the game and honored it. While others chased stats, Jordan played for something real. The irony is insane. The players criticizing Michael Jordan are guilty of every single weakness he never had. Let us start with Kevin Durant, the man responsible for what fans call the weakest superstar move in history. In 2016, after the Warriors knocked his Thunder out of the playoffs, he simply surrendered. What did KD do? He joined them. He signed with the 73-win team that just handed him a loss. That is like losing a fight and joining the rival gang the next day. This team already had Steph, Klay, and Draymond. 3 all-stars who did not need help. Fans across the globe called the decision spineless. Honestly, it is hard to disagree. When things got rough in Brooklyn, he bailed again, demanded a trade, and ran to Phoenix. Every single time the spotlight got too hot, he simply dipped. Yet here he is, calling Michael Jordan a quitter. Please. Then you have LeBron James. His entire career is just a map of exits. When the Boston Celtics blocked his path in Cleveland, what did he do? He packed his bags and famously took his talents to South Beach. He didn't stick around to build anything. He built a super team with Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh instead. When Miami's window shut in 2014, did he grind it out? No. He bolted back to Cleveland, leaving Pat Riley mid-rebuild. Once that situation started cracking under the pressure, he bailed again. This time heading to Los Angeles. Every challenge, he hits the eject button. Every rough season, he switches zip codes. This man doesn't rebuild, he relocates. And these are the guys mocking Michael Jordan's sacrifices. The disrespect is honestly unreal. Charles Barkley said it best, cutting through the noise with total honesty. These guys hide behind analytics and their agents. All they're doing is trying to extend their careers. In plain English, they are chasing money, not legacy. Stretching a career by a few years means another $500 million in the bank. That's their game. But Jordan? He never chased longevity. He chased greatness. Every single season, every night, his only goal was absolute perfection. He dominated every inch of the floor to walk off knowing he gave more than anyone. He didn't care about coasting into year 20. He cared about being the best player alive every single night. Let's put their numbers side by side. Jordan played 15 seasons. Actually, only 13 full ones when you account for his retirements. In that time, 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 5 season MVPs, 10 scoring titles, and 9 defensive honors. That is not just dominance. It's sustained perfection. Back then, $1 million for an NBA player seemed impossible. Now these guys are so lucky and blessed, yet they can't play basketball 3 or 4 days a week. I know they hide behind all the analytics from their agents and people like that. What they are really doing is extending their careers. With the way the money is moving these days, you can make another $500 or $700 million or more just by extending your career 2 or 3 years. Now compare that to LeBron and Durant combined. That's nearly 40 seasons of basketball between them, 4 decades of ball, and their combined stats are 6 championships, 5 MVPs, and 6 finals MVPs. Oh, and only 5 total all-defensive first-team selections between them both. So, after triple the playing time, they still haven't matched what Jordan did in a decade. Double the years, half the dominance. Fast forward to October 2025, Michael Jordan sits down for an interview and gets asked about load management. And what does he say? He gives the straight truth. It shouldn't be needed. I never wanted to miss games because fans worked hard for tickets. I wanted to impress the person way up top who spent money they couldn't afford. That is pure heart. Jordan respected every fan in the arena, even the ones booing him. He once said, "I know he's probably yelling at me. I want to shut him up." He saw haters as fuel, not noise. He thrived on it. He even brought up the legendary 1997 flu game, Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Jordan was violently ill fever, chills, and barely able to stand on the court. He skipped warm-ups entirely, then dropped 38 points. Chicago won. After the buzzer, he collapsed into Scottie Pippen's arms, completely drained. That wasn't just a game. That was sheer willpower made visible. When asked why he did it, Jordan said, "I was going to find a way out there. Even as a decoy, you never know what happens. The emotions, the situation, the team's need, all of that catapulted me to gut it out." That's the DNA of a true competitor. Jordan played all 82 games 6 times and at least 80 games in 9 seasons. The only times he didn't? When he broke his foot, returned mid-season, or during his final years in Washington. Meanwhile, today's stars are bragging about playing 60 games and calling it a real commitment. It got so bad that the NBA finally had to step in and create a rule. Players must play at least 65 games to qualify for MVP. Imagine that. Grown men needing a rule just to show up. The league finally admitted what fans already knew. The product is suffering because the stars won't play. And Jordan? He'd never need a rule to tell him to compete. He didn't just play basketball. He lived it, breathed it, and bled for it. That is what separates a legend from a brand. Players keep sitting out, stacking excuses, and acting like showing up is optional. The gap between generations has never been wider. Years ago, Michael Jordan's era lived for the game, respecting fans, battling through pain, and leaving every ounce of effort on the hardwood, regardless of the travel or pressure. Modern stars prioritize body preservation, long careers, and fat checks. The raw passion for basketball seems to have vanished. It is branding over everything. Sure, science promotes recovery, and yes, today's athletes are bigger and faster than ever before. But do not call it tougher. Jordan's era survived brutal contact, vicious hand checks, flying elbows, and hard, flagrant fouls. They were slammed to the hardwood every night, wiped off the blood, and stood back up ready for war. Now, players have private chefs and high-tech recovery pods, yet they still moan about the grind being too much. It is wild. Shaq's generation built the NBA brick by brick. They transformed basketball into a global powerhouse, fighting for the pay and treatment today's stars take for granted. Current players are coasting on that legacy, cashing massive checks while acting like the hard work is beneath them. They have every advantage imaginable, yet they complain more than ever. Here is the real kicker. Studies prove that load management is a myth. The NBA's own research shows sitting out does not actually prevent injuries. So why do they do it? Simple. It is not science, it is comfort. It's just not wanting to compete. That is what Shaq called out, a soft mindset disguised as a smart strategy. Shaquille O'Neal just put LeBron James and Kevin Durant on blast. Not for missing games, but for exposing everything wrong with the NBA. He reminded us what real legends stood for and what true competitors actually look like. Shaq, Jordan, Bird, and Magic never made excuses. They never skipped games for maintenance days. And they definitely did not mock tragedies for podcast clips. They respected the sanctity of the game. They respected the fans who pay their salaries. Meanwhile, LeBron and KD duck the smoke whenever things get tough. They rush to build super teams because they cannot carry a roster alone. They sit when tired, mock the greatest ever, and claim that longevity with fewer rings makes them superior. It is pure delusion masked as confidence. This debate will continue, but one truth remains rock solid. When measuring dedication and respect for basketball, Shaq and Jordan own one side of history, while LeBron and Durant sit far on the other. And no amount of podcast or PR spin can change that reality. If Shaq finally said what you have been thinking, hit that like button. Drop a comment below. Who actually honors the game today? If you are ready for more unfiltered truth about what is really happening in pro basketball, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned because this story is only just getting started.